On today's Homestand Sports podcast, I have three big questions, starting with number one, the Toronto Blue Jays. Who is to blame for the Toronto Blue Jays' demise? For the second straight wildcard series in a row, they were swept 2-0, this time by the Minnesota Twins. What happens in the offseason? What happens with Bo? What happens with Vlad? But the big question is, who is to blame for the Jays getting bounced once again in the MLB postseason? The second question has to do with Travis Kelce, has to do with Taylor Swift, the NFL pop culture. Is the NFL overdoing it with the Taylor Swift thing? Travis Kelce came out and said some things about the situation. The NFL released a statement. I will play that clip. I will mention the statement, and we'll get into the conversation if the NFL is actually overdoing it by showcasing too much of Taylor Swift. And the third one, Marshawn Lynch was on a podcast with Shannon Sharp and had some things to say about Russell Wilson. I'll play a lot of those clips and we'll dissect it. But after you hear that, the big question is, how much damage has Russell Wilson's reputation taken after those comments, and what's going to happen moving forward with his career? So stay tuned for all of that. I'm Albert Vartanian, and this is Homestand Sports. All right, joining me now, head of production of Homestand Sports, Hamilton's own, my good buddy, Shawn McCormick.
Yeah.
So I did mention what went down with the Blue Jays in the intro. You know that. We've talked about this a lot.
Yeah.
They now own the longest active losing streak in the postseason to 7 games, the Toronto Blue Jays. So here's the question. Who deserves the most blame for this Blue Jays demise?
Where do I start?
I'm going to throw some names at you. John Schneider,
Yeah.
Vladimir Guerrero Jr.,
Yeah.
the whole front office.
Sure.
The offense,
Yeah.
the pitching,
Okay.
or the defense? Who takes, or you can either pick one or split it up.
All of the above. No, it's a tough question. And a lot of blame deserves to go around for the Toronto Blue Jays. Just like, I don't know how they flame out the way they do, man. Like last year they were up 8-1 and they lose the game. This year they score 1 run in 2 games. That's just, you can't do that. You can't expect to win any games, regular season, playoff, by just scoring 1 run. So, I mean, we'll talk about it a bit more, but the number one person I blame is Vladimir Guerrero Jr. You cannot get thrown out the way he did at second base. Cannot. Asleep at the switch. Like, I understand that Carlos Correa is a hell of a, game manager as a shortstop. And Sonny Gray, and they talked about it. Sonny Gray says, like, Carlos Correa came up to him in the second inning, and they're like, hey, they can't. The third base coach, it's too loud here. They won't be able to hear him. Like, let's set up this play. And they set it up, and they executed it perfectly. But, like, Vladimir Guerrero also has to know that it's too loud, that the third base coach won't be able to talk to you. So you just have to, like, have your head on a swivel and get back to that base. And not get back to the base, but why are you so far away from it? Why? Like, you're not even the lead runner. It's inexcusable, man. It's just mental lapses, mistakes. Like, we saw mistakes throughout the series, and we'll get into it. But Vladimir Guerrero, you're supposed to be the guy. You're supposed to be, sorry, excuse me, I'm getting heated. You're supposed to be the guy who the team can rely on, a superstar. You have, I think, 3 hits and 2 walks in 6 playoff games. Like, batting 143 or something like that. Like, that. You're a superstar. You watch Carlos Correa of the Twins, who had a really bad year, injuries and such. Batting 6th. What does he do? Throws out Bichette when Bichette runs through the stop sign. Which another thing I can blame. He picks off Vladdy, and then he hits a single to cash in some runs. Right. Like, he's somebody who was counted on by his team and did the job. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. did not do the job.
But I hear you, and I think Vlad probably deserves a percentage of the blame.
Yeah.
But it's the entire offense. You mentioned it. 1 run in 18 innings in the postseason. How does that happen? With that type of offense, you have Bichette, you have Vladdy, you have Brandon Belt, who's been there before, George Springer. But unfortunately, throughout the season, all these guys underachieved and underperformed. The only positions that didn't, pitching and defense, 2 things that Chris Bassett and Brandon Belt said wins championships, and timely hitting, and they didn't get the timely hitting.
Yeah.
So I'm with you with Vlad. I would throw definitely a percentage of the blame on him. I have to also look at John Schneider.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people are pointing fingers towards him for pulling Jose Barrios early in the game, when he probably shouldn't have. But with that said, the Jays didn't lose the game for that reason.
Mm-hmm.
Did it hurt the morale of the team at that time? Probably.
Yeah.
I don't know if you heard some of the comments post-game. Whit Merrifield was like, I hated it. Essentially saying, I don't know what he's doing.
Yeah.
And you can say it wasn't John Schneider's fault because people are saying, listen, that's above John Schneider. That's the analytics department that's making that decision. That's the front office. But John Schneider has to wear it. And if you saw him in the dugout after with Barrios, it looked like he didn't want to make that decision.
Yeah, they were like hugging and everything.
But with that said, as the manager, you're at the front of the line. The game is happening. Let's say that conversation did happen. They want to take Barrios out of the game. You know that. The way that Barrios was pitching, there's no way you take him out. He passed the eye test in terms of we got to let this guy stay in there. He's pitching against his former team. He has something to prove. We've invested well over $100 million into this pitcher. Let's trust the guy. Why can't John Schneider go out there, look him in the eye and say, you know what, they want me to take you out based on these numbers, but I'm going to keep you in here because I believe in you. Let's galvanize the team and bring them together in game 2 in an elimination game in the wild card series. Why can't John Schneider do that? And I know he's still learning on the job. He is more or less a rookie manager.
Yeah.
But why can't you do that? I think if he made that decision, I'm not saying the Jays would win. I'm not saying they would win. But I think that would have been the right decision for John Schneider in that team at that moment.
Oh, 1,000,000,000%. But I think it comes down to fear or inexperience, like you just said. Like when your boss tells you to do something, and outside of Homestand Sports, because we ignore him all the time. When your boss tells you to do something and you sort of go around it and make your own decision for what you think would be the betterment of the company, you then would have to fall on your sword if you say Jose Barrios gets lit up the next couple batters, right? And the Jays lose because you left Jose Barrios in when the guys upstairs told you to remove him. Whether, like, again, we all assume that's the case, and I'm going to say that I do believe that Atkins told, they game planned this, and that's what they went along with the game plan.
Someone had to say something.
But
I've never heard so many people in unison come out and say that decision was not made by a manager.
Yeah.
It was immediate. Everyone said that. The commentators said it. Post-game, you heard it everywhere in Toronto radio and Toronto TV. That's all you hear. And I've never heard that before.
Yeah.
I understand analytics are part of the game. But hearing that, listen, this is above the manager. Someone else is making this decision before the game even starts.
Is there no like bat phone where like they can call like, John Schneider and be like, oh yeah, don't follow the plan. He's doing really good.
But if the numbers are telling you, listen, at this point in the game, he's going to face these batters. This is who's coming up. You got a lefty who you can bring in from the bullpen, Kikuchi.
Yeah.
You say Kikuchi, who's a starter.
Yeah.
I mean, why? And that decision alone drives me crazy. Why would you throw a starter into the bullpen and bring him in mid-inning?
I don't know.
Right?
It didn't make any sense.
Starters aren't put in those situations.
Yeah.
At least at the top of the inning, it makes more sense.
Yeah. No.
And who was at the plate at that time? Royce Lewis. The guy's banged up.
Yeah.
He can barely run.
Wheel, yeah.
So a walk wouldn't even kill them at that point.
Yeah.
You're getting a guy with a broken wheel trying to round the bases. Listen, these analytics guys, and obviously John Schneider and all the baseball guys probably know a lot more than us.
Yeah.
But when you're watching the game, I think anybody watching that game realized that it's just not the decision you make at that time.
Yeah, no, I mean, Barrios was dealing, man. His fastball looked crisp.
He was fired up.
And just like, yeah, and you could see that he wanted it, right? But like you also saw when they came to take him out, he knew. He wasn't, like we've seen him get taken out early before, and he was fired up, right?
Yeah.
And so he knew that this was coming. This was the game plan. So I don't know why they went through with it. Again, you see somebody doing really well. I don't know why you don't keep him in the game. I know the numbers, like you said, the analytics say like third time through the order, they're hitting over 300 on him. The league was hitting over 300 on him. But yeah, you can't pull him there. And again, who knows what would have happened if they left him in? Like it could have been 8-0.
Exactly.
Right. But like you talked about it, a lot of the blame has to fall on the offense.
Oh my God.
And so question to you, like, and I think, like, again, I always say this team is inconsistent, and it comes down to a lot of these guys, you can game plan how to pitch at them. You throw Vladdy, you throw him the slider away, right? And he swings and he you've seen him swing at things 2 feet
almost
outside
trying
the
to
zone.
do too much.
You've seen Bo do similar things, but I'm not going to rag on Bo too much. I think he had a fantastic
I will. He's my next target. Go ahead.
All right, yeah. You know, Dalton Varsho, throw him a high fastball. You know, Brandon Belt, throw him a high fastball.
David Schneider, throw him a high fastball.
Yeah. So like, and you know what I mean? Like everybody throws a fastball, and now the fastball is, you know, up at, you know, most pitchers are throwing especially relievers, 95 to 100. Like, so the Jays, and I don't know I can't even describe what's going on with Matt Chapman, but but if you know how to game plan for these batters and you can execute well, I mean, it's not like they're very versatile. Like they're skilled and they're, you know what I mean? And they can hit well, but if you execute your pitches, they're done. You've seen it all year. And that's what the Twins did, you know. Duran blowing 102 by Varsho, and you know what I mean. You can't pull Varsho there. He's your guy. Like you rode with him all year. Same we talked about down the stretch. Do you take out Matt Chapman and put somebody else in? I'm like, well, who do you put in? You know, we saw Espinal come off the bench and have a good at bat. Maybe he should have been in the starting lineup. But then you take Chapman out of the field, right? It's just, I don't know. It's all would haves, could haves, should haves, and I'll be analyzing it all off season, man.
Yeah, everybody will. The top of the order was essentially dead in that series. And this is why I kind of want to blame Bichette a little bit.
Sure.
Okay, the most consistent hitter, maybe one of the best hitters in the MLB.
Yeah.
You cannot question that.
Yeah.
But some of his decision making in this series, I don't understand. And we can. I did a TikTok. Follow me on TikTok, by the way. A little plug. Albert Vartanian. There was 3 plays that I thought really killed the Jays in this series. One you mentioned was the Vladdy pickoff, which I thought was the nail in the coffin in Game 2. It was such a great position. Vladdy leads off, double. Who's coming up next? Bichette. That's the guy you want at the plate. And what does he do? He strikes out 3 straight pitches. You know, 2 of those pitches weren't even the zone.
Yeah.
Just trying to do too much. And then in Game 1, running through the stop sign at third base and gets thrown out by a mile. And when I think back to that play, the Jays were down. You're trying to make something happen. The bats aren't really going. So maybe in a way it was the right decision by Bo to do that. But because the offense was lacking so much, you want to give yourself a chance to do something. I know Bichette was coming up, but you never know. You put him in that position with a couple runners on. Maybe he hits a double or a base hit, and now you cash a couple runs, you're back into the game. That didn't happen. So that's where I'm frustrated with Bo. I thought the at-bats were really poor when it really mattered. And I go back to timely hitting, like Brandon Belt said.
Yeah.
And guys were put in that position. Vladdy was put in that position. Chapman was put in that position a ton. And he almost made it count with one of those hits, right? But at the end of the day, it did not count.
Yeah.
And when you needed your best players to show up, they didn't. And for Minnesota, you needed your best players to show up, Carlos Correa, and he did that. That was a difference in that series. Look at the Twins. You don't have to score that many runs to beat the Twins. They're going to go play the Astros now. They're going to be riding a high for sure. But you're telling me the Astros can't just destroy this team right now?
Yeah, I mean,
you got to score 4 or 5 runs and you beat the Twins.
Yeah, you're not.
That's all the Jays needed to do, and they couldn't do it. All you needed was a couple timely hits, and these Jays players could not do that, which leads me to maybe my next question. What happens in the offseason? If you're in the front office and you're thinking about Vladimir Guerrero and Bichette, it hasn't worked up until this point.
Sure.
Are you comfortable moving forward with having both of those guys on your team to try and lead this team to a World Series?
I am. I mean, the skill is just
both of them
too high. Yeah,
really.
I am, and you know what I mean. And the chemistry is good. I would maybe again. I talk to Vladimir Guerrero. You're not going to change him, but like we've seen it. Like we talked about it the other day off air, and it was just like buddy at first base with everybody. Like
are we overreacting to
probably
that?
A little bit, but like
if we watch more games, we probably see a lot of first basemen have conversations.
Yeah,
I'm not just when it's happening.
I'm not saying he needs to, you know, change, and I'm not saying, you know, that that's the biggest problem. It's not. Like again, it just, I think he'll have a better year next year, which again, I think he's still one of the top 30 hitters in baseball. It's not that these guys can't make it work. It's just you have to, you know, they have to work on their approach. I don't know if, you know, they need a new hitting coach. You've seen a lot of different hitters and different people in their lives and in their past come in and deal with them and talk to them about their approaches. We just saw Luis Rivera retired yesterday. Bo scared him into retirement by running through that stop sign.
Blue Jays third base coach, for those who don't know.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean the team's going to look completely different, and I think you got to bring in some new blood. I would look closely at Schneider, but I'm not saying he's gone. I mean, he's here for another couple of years on contract at least. But I mean, you're looking at free agents: Whit Merrifield, Kevin Kiermaier, Brandon Belt, Matt Chapman, Hyunjin Ryu, Jordan Hicks. There's a lot of turnover that's going to come, and that'll change the lineup. I mean, I would like to see them maybe re-sign a Kiermaier. If you're not going to re-sign a Kiermaier, Cody Bellinger, who I wanted the Jays to get last season, who had a great year with the Cubs despite dealing with a couple injuries. It's not a great free agent class, but I would want Chapman gone. I think Merrifield has a player option or a club option, but it's like $14, $15 million. Yep. So he was slumping down the stretch. Like, he had a great first half, but do you want to pay $15 million for a Whit Merrifield? Maybe not. So, yeah, the team's going to look different. I think this team can still win. I mean, they've proven it. They made it to the playoffs, but it's similar. I don't want to bring up the Toronto Maple Leafs, but it's just that's the same narrative, right? You can get into the playoffs, but what can you do when you get there? And is it the mentality of these guys?
Right.
Is it, inexperienced coaching? Is it, what I mean? There's a lot of similarities there. And I'm looking, again, I'm already like looking at the offseason, what can they do? And it's just, it's too early to tell. But
well, Mark Shapiro and Ross Atkins in the front office prioritized pitching and defense, and they went that way. It didn't work. Yeah. And I would say the comparison to the Leafs is interesting, but the Toronto Maple Leafs dominate the regular season. The Jays kind of backed into the playoffs.
They did.
Which is also kind of promising. They still won 89 games, and they were consistently inconsistent.
Yeah. So ninth best record in the majors, right?
Exactly. And it's crazy to say after what we just saw.
And on top of that, too, it's like they at the same point in time, they were healthy. They were pretty healthy this year.
They were very healthy.
So
they did miss Danny Jansen, though.
Oh, 100% clutch hitter. If there ever was one, you can't measure clutch, but that's a guy.
A couple walk-offs during the regular season. Yeah, they definitely missed Danny Jansen.
So, yeah, man, I don't know. I'm a little heartbroken now, but I'm still on board with this team. I think they'll be back in the playoffs next year, but it's going to be another tight one. That division is so good.
I don't know. I mean, the Orioles look dangerous. They're probably only going to get better. The Rays are always there. You have to assume there's going to be a massive improvement from the Yankees and the Red Sox. Potentially, the Yankees getting Shohei Ohtani. That's a conversation that's probably going to be had.
The Yankees will be back next year.
Yeah, so it's going to be even more difficult for the Jays. They backed into a wild card.
Yeah.
And they clinched it on the 161st game.
It depends.
With the Mariners loss.
I don't want to spend too much more longer on the Jays.
Right.
Who would, if you could re-sign one player that's a free agent
on the list?
On the list.
Probably Kevin Kiermaier.
No. Well, he's my number 2 probably because I think you can get him for cheap.
He's part of the best defense in baseball.
Yeah. No. I'm not ragging on it, but he's just, to me, like, it's Jordan Hicks.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that.
Because we talked about this bullpen all year. They don't have the guy that can throw 100. Again, Chad Green, I think, is also a free agent.
He is.
And I think he owes us one.
I believe there's a player option.
He owes us one, Chad Green. You missed half the year. Come on back, buddy.
Yeah, I would go Kiermaier, Hicks. Maybe Hicks is the right choice because Hicks can also.
You love those guys that throw 100.
It's true.
And the Jays
who knows,
don't have too many.
Who knows what can happen with Joe Romano? Maybe the decision is for Hicks to become the closer.
No, I think his command's too wild. But, anyways.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it'll be an interesting offseason. I think they're going to be active in the trade market. I'm not sure about free agents, but in the trade market, maybe it's not so negative with the Blue Jays. Maybe it really isn't. Maybe, listen, if they prioritize getting some bats and they get a little bit of power to go along with that pitching and defense, they'll be all right. What's going to happen with Alek Manoah? That's a whole other conversation, and we will not have that conversation right now. But let's transition to football. We'll take a quick break, but let's talk about Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift. Travis Kelce had some things to say, and the NFL, after Kelce's his little blurb in his podcast, released a statement.
Oh, okay.
Stay tuned for that.
Is the NFL overdoing it? What is your honest opinion?
I think everybody's just like overwhelmed
your feelings
with
for Taylor. What is your honest opinion on how the NFL is treating celebrities at games?
I think it's fun when they show who all is at the game. I think it brings a little bit more to the atmosphere, brings a little bit more to what you're watching. But at the same time, I think
they're overdoing it.
They're overdoing it a little bit for sure, especially my situation.
Right.
I think they're just trying to have fun with it, and a lot
Here's what
of the people watching. Go ahead, let's hear it.
I just think the NFL is not used to celebrities coming to the games. Like basketball has it figured out. They're all courtside. They're sitting there. They show them once or twice, and then they get back to the game. The NFL is like, oh, look at all these A-list celebrities in the game. Keep showing them, show them. Dude, listen. You show them once, let them know they're there. Maybe after a touchdown, you get a little clip, but you can't be overboard with it.
Yeah.
People are there to watch the game, right?
Yeah, they're not there to get thrown on TV.
So that was Travis Kelce and his brother Jason Kelce on their podcast, the New Heights podcast, which is really good. So Jason asked Travis, what does he think about this whole Taylor Swift situation? Travis said, I think they're overdoing it a bit. And the NFL also released a statement. So, in case you don't know, Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce are dating, Shawn? There's something going on.
It hasn't been confirmed.
There's a relationship.
But
yes.
It looks like that's
Taylor Swift goes to the game. She's gone to 2 games so far. Kansas City won both. After the Chiefs' latest win over the Jets, the NFL changed their bio on Instagram to say Chiefs are 2-0 as Swifties, while the bio on X or Twitter read NFL Taylor's version. So ridiculous. So the NFL came out with a statement saying, we frequently change our bios and professional imagery based on what's happening in and around our games, as well as culturally. The Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce news has been a pop culture moment we've leaned into in real time, as it's an intersection of sport and entertainment, and we've seen an incredible amount of positivity around the sport. The league went on to state the vast majority of our content has remained focused on the game, Shawn McCormick, our players, and variety of other initiatives, including our Toy Story Fun Day football altcast, which I watched, which was ridiculous, the international games, and more. So here's the big question. Do you agree with Travis Kelce? Is the NFL overdoing it?
They are and they're not. And it does a fence-sitter answer, but they are because of the amount of times that they're showing Taylor Swift. So I did a little research, as I do, and
you researched what?
It wasn't hard to find the answer. No, I wanted to know how often they showed Taylor Swift during the last game, the Chiefs and the Jets.
Right.
They showed Taylor Swift 17 times, according to Yahoo, which is too much. It's too much.
Is it?
Yeah, it's too much. Why? What? Like, it's a football game. You're there to, most people are tuning in to watch the football game.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's taken away from replays. It's taken away from production. But what I will say is that there is nothing like this in sport right now. There is nothing like this.
Oh.
And I'm going to say that there was before, but it wasn't overblown. You have Giselle and Tom. You had Jessica Simpson and Tony Romo.
That's right.
So you had some. This isn't.
You
new.
really did your research.
You asked me to come on the pod.
Well done. Yeah.
You asked me to come on the pod. I got to do a little digging.
I love that. Okay. Pop culture research.
So it's not new, but the difference is that right now there might not be a bigger pop culture celebrity than Taylor Swift.
Well, she's being compared to Michael Jackson, so you're bang on with that. Probably.
Because you might get, your LeBrons, your Dwayne The Rock Johnsons, your Kevin Harts. They're huge, right? But they're not hitting every demographic. Everybody seems to love Taylor Swift, so there's that sort of angle to it. That's one. Two, there's like a romantic connection supposedly between Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift, so that gets people interested, right? So that gets people talking, which gets the impressions up and the numbers up on social media, and now you're seeing it in their bio, like the Twitter bios of the NFL. Like, this is just such a big deal, and I don't know what the end goal is. Like, I've heard the end goal is to try to get Taylor Swift to perform at a halftime show for the Super Bowl. I believe she already declined to do this year's, and because you have to pay to do the Super Bowl, like they don't pay you pay them. And somebody at the peak of their career, making hundreds of millions of dollars, I don't know what the exact numbers are on that. Sorry, I didn't do that research. But making a ton of money, they don't need it. But it's good to get the spotlight, without doing much work. So yeah, they're overdoing it. But, like, who cares? You know what I mean? Like, it bothers me a little bit because, again, I'm a football guy, and it's not really, like, she's not doing anything. You're celebrating a touchdown. You know what I mean? Pan to the rest of the crowd who's celebrating the touchdown, or the team who's also celebrating the touchdown. But it's, you know, meme culture, it's internet culture, it's all that stuff that, like, you know what I mean? You've seen it all already, like Taylor, like celebrating. I don't know if that was a celebratory face.
What was that? To our audio listeners, Shawn just made a strange face.
Please don't clip that.
Right.
But it's just like, you've seen, it's blown up, and it's the main story on, you know, sports broadcasts and sports shows. It's like entertainment. You know
It's
what I mean?
everything. It's a complete crossover.
Up, and it's worth talking about, and it's important to both the NFL and pop culture. And it's one of the biggest stories going in the world right now.
Well, why is it important? Let's talk about it, John. It's all about the do-re-mi. It's about the money, bro. And Travis Kelce saying that they're overdoing it, I think he's full of it. He knows exactly what he's doing. This is a guy who had his own dating show called, I think, Dating Kelce.
Looking for, oh no, yeah.
Hold on, let me pull it up. I have it right here. Catching Kelce.
Catching
okay?
Kelce.
And here's the bio for that show. American football player Travis Kelce is known for catching passes as a tight end for the Kansas City Chiefs. As a pro football star and an eligible bachelor, Kelce is quite the catch himself. In the dating competition series, Catching Kelce, 50 women from 50 states vie to win the heart of a pro football player. With help from his famous friends and family, Kelce attempts to find the woman who will become his perfect teammate.
That's a hell of a trailer.
He knows what's going on. He's been in this position before.
Yeah.
They're making a lot of money. His jersey sales have gone up. They said 400%.
Yeah.
It's through the roof. He's getting little kids and little girls buying his jersey now who love Taylor Swift because it's Taylor Swift's quote-unquote boyfriend.
Sure.
Taylor Swift has this movie coming out. I think it's come out already.
Yeah, Eras Tour or something.
Her Eras Tour that they're projecting to make $1 billion.
And
Everything goes hand in hand.
And like
Taylor Swift is helping Kelce. Kelce's helping Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift and Kelce are helping the NFL. The NFL are helping Taylor Swift and Kelce.
Yeah.
Money, 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 money. That's all it is. And go back to my question, are they overdoing it? No. It's fine. What's the big deal? They showed them 17 times. You still get to watch your football. Nothing's changed. The game hasn't changed. You're just showing a blonde famous woman
But why?
on your TV screen. I just told you why.
Money.
It's all goes back
the
to
money makes the world go around.
And then
I
Jason
get
Kelce,
it.
his brother, like, oh, they shouldn't be doing it. Whatever. What are you talking about? You got a podcast and you're talking about it. It's helping your podcast and filling your pockets.
And
It's all money, dude.
what a dumb statement by Jason Kelce too. Like,
What?
This is new to the NFL? It's not new to the NFL.
It's new-ish.
This
I thought
level
about
of
that too.
it. This level of it is, you know, new. But you're telling me celebrities didn't come to NFL games before?
But you don't see it as much as you do in the NBA.
Yeah, because they're up in the box suites,
True,
and
this
you know
is
it's
fair.
tougher to, you know what I mean, get the camera.
But look
focus.
who else Taylor Swift is bringing. Last week I saw
Oh.
Ryan Reynolds and his wife was there.
Hugh Jackman.
Yeah, Hugh Jackman.
Yeah.
Hugh Jackman. Wolverine was
Yeah,
there.
yeah, yeah.
Like, when does Wolverine go to an NFL game? Thank you, Taylor Swift.
Isn't it time for his
The
hibernation?
NFL
soon?
loves
Is it
this, and they should totally be doing whatever they can to milk this as much as possible. How long is this relationship going to last, if it even is a relationship?
happening? We don't know.
After the first game,
They could just be friends.
when we first saw Kelce and Swift leave the game together, they get into like some
Corvette or
like convertible,
Yeah.
and they're driving down the street like it's a movie. Come on, man.
It is a movie.
I can see through it. I'm completely fine with it. I love watching football. I love betting football. Seeing Taylor Swift 17 times in a game
Yeah.
is not going to change anything. But I can also see how that can bother some people in the Deep South
Yeah.
in America who just love their football. Football's religion. Friday night lights. Sundays are for football.
Yeah.
They want to see football. They don't want to see some, what do they call? Yippee? Not a yippee.
Yeah, careful now.
No, it's not a derogatory term. Like someone from the city.
Oh, yuppie.
A yuppie. They don't want to see some yuppie
Yeah.
on their screen. They want to see football.
I'm gonna Google yuppie to make sure we're allowed to say.
We're
yuppie.
allowed to say it. It's fine. It's fine. So anyway, I'm completely fine. The NFL is going to milk this as much as possible, just like they would milk anything else. Let's be completely honest.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, again, I think the NFL also paid to have like her like trailers and commercials run for like free or something.
Oh, there you go.
They're like, it was like to get a spot on a NFL Sunday night broadcast is $1 million for 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Like, you're just giving that away?
But that's
Because
chump,
it's
that's
Taylor-
chump change
Well,
to the NFL. And also, look,
Can I get $1
they're
million?
trying to get every single demographic. Forget the Taylor Swift stuff.
Yeah.
Toy Story?
Yeah, it's one of the, you know what I mean?
Why are they doing that? Are they doing that for me and you, 2 35-plus-year-olds?
Yeah, no.
No, they're doing it for kids.
Yeah.
They
Well,
want that demographic. They want their parents to buy them stuff. Taylor Swift is getting parents to buy little girls Travis Kelce jerseys and whatever else. And now once it's in pop culture, now it's huge. That's where the real money is, right?
Yeah.
So listen, good on the NFL for milking it. Good on Swift. Good on Kelce. But stop pretending like you care about what the NFL is doing. You don't. You just want money. It all comes down to the dollar bill. Until Travis Kelce stops performing on the field because he's too focused on Taylor Swift, then that becomes a real conversation. But clearly that's not an issue.
It's affecting Patrick Mahomes.
No, it's not. The
No,
guy's
it's not.
Even he's waving at her. The wife, Patrick Mahomes' wife, is standing beside her. He's waving at Taylor Swift. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Listen, everyone wants a piece of Taylor Swift. I'm just saying. Not in that way. Whoa, not in that way. You know what I'm saying?
I wasn't saying nothing.
So listen, congrats.
It's all about the
I don't know
money.
much about Taylor Swift. It shocks me like how big she's become. I feel like this kind of just happened like a few months ago. All of a sudden, Taylor Swift is the biggest name in the world. I know she was always popular, but now it's a whole nother level. Am I missing something?
No, I don't. I wouldn't say it came out of nowhere. She's been around for a long time, and she's been big for a long time. But it is reaching that other level, and again, the stuff like this is the reason why. You know, spotlight, like you know what I mean. There's always a little bit of controversy with her between her dating life, the Kanye incident.
Oh yeah, that's right.
You know what I mean? So like when you're constantly in the news for one reason or another, whether it be A, fantastic musical artist, B, you know, getting the limelight stolen from you by Kanye, C, see who you're dating next, and the you know the heartbreak that you endure from your previous 3 months relationship, and now to like this thing with the NFL, right? It's smart.
Yeah.
It's smart by her. It's smart. I mean, and it'll make her a lot of money.
Listen,
and
man.
And again, we've seen it. Like this tour that she's going on is ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
It's like 6 or 7 nights in Toronto, like, and that's just like one of the stops. Like, but to sell out 60,000 seat arenas in the same city for 7 straight days, not too many artists can do that.
Buddy.
So hats off to Miss Swift.
If Taylor Swift was in this office right now, I just have her sit there and just pan the camera to Taylor Swift.
You're gonna show her 17 times?
I'll show her
Well,
17,000
she
times.
won't even say it.
Hey, listen, man, it's hard to make a buck out there. Listen, any way you can. NFL, listen, I applaud you guys. Okay, let's continue with football, but after the break, I want to play a couple of clips. Marshawn Lynch has been talking. The former Seattle Seahawks running back was on a podcast with Shannon Sharp, and he said some things about Russell Wilson and his relationship with him. So you'll want to hear that, so stay tuned. Okay, welcome back to the pod. So as I mentioned, Marshawn Lynch was on Shannon Sharp's podcast, Club Shay Shay, who I think everyone should listen to. It's a really good podcast. He gets some good athletes to say some things because he's a former athlete himself. He's super entertaining, really good interviewer. Anyway, they talked about a lot of different topics, including Marshawn's relationship with quarterback Russell Wilson during his time in Seattle. And while describing that relationship as teammates, Lynch admitted that Wilson was just a quarterback to him. Lynch went on to describe how he can't even get in touch with Wilson, even if he wanted to.
You know, I'll take Russ, and I'll put him right there at quarterback, and I'll rock with him.
Right.
Because I have done that.
Right.
But, I mean, you know, as far as anything else, it's like there's
Y'all didn't have a relationship outside of football.
no, there's no, I mean, can't pick up the phone and call old boy or nothing.
Right.
And then, I mean, you know.
What you mean you couldn't pick up the phone? I mean,
I don't got his number.
but you would. I mean, but if you know.
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
So then Lynch then talked about an interaction he had with Wilson following a win over the Titans in 2013. Marshawn said the expectation was for Wilson to have a good game against the Titans secondary, who were bad, but he threw for just 257 and no touchdowns, while Lynch went off 155 and 2 touchdowns himself. Marshawn wanted to talk to Russ after the game, and this is how that went.
You know, I reached out to our player personnel dude, and I like, hey man, let me get Russ' number. Call him, you know, holla at him. I'll call you back. So then, you know, he called me back like, hey, did you get a call? I'm like, no. He's like, no, Russ just said he called you. I'm like, no, I got a call from a blocked number. He's like, oh, that's him.
You blocked his number.
I don't know if he blocked it or if, I don't know how it worked. I just know it got a call from a blocked number.
A blocked number. But wait, there's more.
Oh, no.
He also described a situation where head coach Pete Carroll, who's still the head coach of the Seattle Seahawks, told Lynch and a few members of the team to not talk directly to Wilson. Listen.
I had a practice, and Pete wasn't holding him accountable. Shawn, you know what I mean, spoke up. A couple of D linemen spoke up, and Pete tell him like, hey, you know, nobody go and talk to Russell. If anybody got something to say to Russell, come talk to me. Come talk to, you know, the quarterback, but nobody go and talk to him. And that was when that, you know what I mean, where that started.
What you mean you can't talk to
Anybody can go and, you know what I mean,
Talk to anybody.
this that kind of zone.
Yeah.
This that kind of team. But you know, you kind of putting him, you know what I mean, on the pedestal or outside the, you know what I mean, outside of the box, and it's like he don't have to be held accountable to the same that we do. What the
Wow. So there's a lot there, Shawn. So the big question to my man Shawn McCormick, noted Denver Broncos fan, excuse me.
God, yeah.
Russell Wilson is now the Broncos quarterback, signed a long-term contract there. But after hearing this, and we've heard a lot about Russell Wilson over the years, is his reputation in the NFL, in the football circle, like destroyed beyond repair?
Probably, yeah. I mean, there you heard what Marshawn had to say. When the thing about being on a football team is that you should be part of the team. You should be in the trenches. You should be accessible. You should be a leader. You should, you know, be able to have open communication with the rest of your team. And when you have to go through agents to talk to somebody, when you have to go through hoops and hoops and hoops to talk to somebody just to go over a couple of things that you want to go over for the future game or what happened on Sunday before, like, it makes you not want to talk to that person. Like, if I had to call your agent, Albert, and say,
I don't
hey,
have one, for the record.
and like say, hey, like, can I talk to Albert? And that just, to me, like, I'd be like, I'm just not going to talk to Albert. Like, it just rubs me the wrong way. And you've seen it there with what Marshawn was saying. When he got traded to Denver, he's got his own office in Denver. Like, I don't know many quarterbacks that have their own office.
And he brings his own people.
And he brings his own people, which is also a little insane.
Can I say this, though?
Yeah.
So even though they had that type of relationship, according to Marshawn Lynch, they still won a Super Bowl together in 2014.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So having a relationship with your teammate, this might sound ridiculous, but I'm going to pose the question anyway. Could that be overrated if you guys can still just go on the field and perform, regardless of a relationship off the field?
No. But to me, there are other ways of doing it. You're not going to like, you know, the people that you work with or the people that are on your team.
That's in any walk of life, any industry.
But, like, you know, Tom Brady was notoriously, you know, an ultra competitive person who, you know what I mean, fiery, held his players accountable.
But his teammates loved him.
Because, like, he was there for them, right? So, like, despite the fact that he was probably like a big hard ass and a bit of a prick, you know what I mean? That's a difference, right? Like, so they didn't probably get along with everybody, but you knew every week you could talk to him and he would, you know, be there and he would listen and he would be the leader of that team. The things that Russell is doing, those aren't leadership qualities. Now I'm hearing that he's got an open door policy in his office on the second floor.
Get out of here. I don't even want to hear that.
So
I have an open door policy?
So if you want to
Who
go,
is this guy?
if you want to go into Russ's office and talk to Russ, you can. But, like, is he a quarterback or is he a coach, right? Like, coaches have open door policies. Coaches have offices. Your star quarterback, who underachieved last year, should not have these privileges.
During that podcast, Shannon Sharp said, when I was playing for the Broncos, he would have Club Shay Shay where they would play cards and have some drinks and stuff. He goes, number 7 would hang out with us and join us, talking about John Elway.
Yeah.
He goes, there's no block numbers.
No.
There's no going through someone else to talk to the quarterback. To me, that's crazy. So I know I posed the relationship question off the field. and maybe it doesn't matter, I'm not sure. But you can even go back to, you watched The Last Dance.
Yeah.
And Michael Jordan's teammates, a lot of them didn't like him.
No.
They almost hated him.
Yeah.
But they knew once you get on that field or on that court, he's going to perform to the highest level, and he is the way he is because he wins. The same can't be said about Russell Wilson. I think it's easier to be, what's another word for the word that I want to say that I'm not allowed to say on this podcast? Not a nice person.
Yeah. That's why I said prick earlier.
Yeah, that prick is probably the better word.
That same road,
Yeah, it's easier to be a prick if you go out there and win every single week. That's not the case with Russell Wilson.
And that was the problem. Like, he came out last year, and he had a good first couple weeks despite them losing. But you finished the season with 16 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, and you sign a $245 million extension. That's not good enough.
No.
And he's having a better season this year. I think it's 9 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, but the team's 1-3, right? I mean, you get paid to win games. You're there to win games. It doesn't matter. Like, I don't want to say your individual statistics don't matter. But he's not really the problem this season. It's the defense. But yeah, I mean, it started well before Russ, but like, you're seeing this new breed, of people who just want things differently for themselves. And we touched on it a bit last week with players in the NBA, and you've seen it in the NFL, like, Russ Wilson, Deshaun Watson, Aaron Rodgers, like, taking the spotlight away from the team and onto themselves in a way, for better or for worse. You're seeing, Russ bring in his own people. You're seeing Aaron Rodgers bring in his own players and own coaching staffs, right? This never used to happen. Like, players shouldn't be able to pick their coaches and their teammates. Like, yeah, you can recommend a couple players, but like, there's no reason why Randall Cobb should be playing for the New York Jets. Like, he's washed, but Aaron Rodgers wanted him there, so they brought Randall Cobb, right? So that's a problem. This is the kind of reputation that some of these players are getting. And would I rather have Aaron Rodgers than Russell Wilson? Yes, I would, 100%. But when you get this reputation of somebody who is a diva, somebody who is going and doing these commercials, and you have this charitable foundation, and your focus seems to be away from the field and on your brand, that's where the reputation problem lies. Because if you're doing all those things like a Tom Brady and you have TB12 and you're winning Super Bowls, great. Keep it up with the TB12 brand, and keep it up with your, media appearances and but if you're not performing on the field, then you got to refocus, because your number one priority here is winning football games. And he wasn't doing that.
How about just being a good person?
I don't know if he is or not. You know what I mean? He seems like a weirdo.
You got to go through somebody, to get that person,
right,
to tell Russ to call you.
Yeah. Then
he calls you on a blocked number. That says a lot about a person. He doesn't want you to have their number. I don't want you calling me. Listen to the rest of that podcast. Listen to what Marshawn Lynch had to say. If I were to run all the clips that I wanted to from that podcast, this show would be 3 hours. But that we cannot do that.
Yeah.
And then you have the coach who's going to bat for the quarterback, saying, "Don't go directly to him. You talk to us if you got something to say about Russell Wilson." That says a lot about Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
The type of person that he is. He's essentially saying, "I'm better than all of you."
Yeah.
As a person, as everything. If you want to talk to me, go through somebody else, because I want nothing to do with you.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Why would anybody want that person on their team? Why would any organization want to pay that guy that type of money? There's no way that the Denver Broncos didn't know what they were getting into when they got Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
Because these stories keep coming out. It's Russell Wilson, then it's the team. And that never works in any sport. No one player is above anybody else. Maybe in the NBA you can say LeBron James, but even then, he has to recruit the players that he wants to make it happen, because he can't do it by himself.
Yeah. And you're right. You heard these accounts with Pete Carroll, and you know what I mean? And he wasn't being held accountable. And now you sort of look at things this year with like Zach Wilson, right? And Robert Saleh saying, he's our quarterback, and you've heard players, off the record mostly, come out and attack Zach Wilson, saying like, if that was anybody else on the team, there'd be issues, right? Like, quarterbacks are held to, kept a little differently.
Well, the most important position in football.
Yeah, in sport
by a
probably.
mile. Maybe in sport. Yeah, good call. Yeah.
And so I get why they get some preferential treatment, but yeah, if you're not performing on the field and you shouldn't get these extra perks, and you should recalibrate your focus, because I don't know, it's just the Russ. I can't call him a bad person. Like, I wouldn't want to deal with him, and you're right. Like, it probably is like there's a difference between like good and bad in that like I wouldn't want to hang around this person or have him on my team, but I don't know if that makes him a bad or evil, but you know what I mean? Like, his charitable foundation, only like 40% of it actually goes to like the charities, and so like
most of these
there's,
charitable
like,
foundations are all fugazi anyway. It's more of a tax break, and the people who start the organizations are making more money than anybody else.
I agree, but most charities like his give away 70-ish%, and he's giving away 40%. Well, again, probably not all his decision.
He's keeping the vig, right?
Well, so yeah, there's things, man. There's things there that show that there's something wrong here,
clearly.
And I thought when they signed him, I was happy when they traded for him. I was like, yes, Denver needed a new quarterback. They had a rotation of quarterbacks for the last 5 or 6 years that weren't cutting it. Russ is an aging star, but hey, 2 years with Russ, great. Oh no, they signed him for another 5 years. The worst contract in the NFL at the time. The Deshaun Watson one might be worse.
Yeah, that's on an island of its own.
And now, you know what I mean? You're seeing like Joe Burrow, and like he's banged up, and you're like, maybe if he's not the same, right? Maybe that becomes the worst contract. But right now, the Russell Wilson contract in this situation is terrible. Last season, like you touched on, like Nathaniel Hackett said, Russell Wilson said, Nathaniel Hackett lets this be a player-run team. And again, you have an inexperienced head coach. It was his first year as a head coach. But that can't happen. And you're seeing a little bit different this year. Again, he's not the problem this year. Russ isn't the problem. He's playing well. Not top 10 well, but like, and playing up to his contract well, but he's playing well enough that he is not the problem. I don't know what's going on in the dressing room this year, but you haven't heard much. Again, a lot of the focus has been more on Sean Payton, which I think Sean Payton wanted to get the spotlight off of Russ, so that Russ could, again, focus on what's important. And I think having somebody like Sean Payton is going to be great for Russ.
Maybe.
But again, does that change who Russ is? Maybe a little bit. Maybe Sean Payton's like, no, you can't do this stuff. And we don't know. But
well, he said that before the season started. He goes, things are going to change around here.
And they should. And I hope they have. And so far, again, the Denver Broncos are still struggling, but Russ has been better. So hopefully, you know what I mean? Hopefully the next 5 years of Russ will be better, but I don't know. I'm skeptical, and I think, like you said, to answer your question, yeah, his reputation is terrible. Yeah, and I don't think it can get any better.
Yeah, he's lucky to have that contract, because let's say if it was running out at the end of this season, I'm just not sure who'd be in for Russell Wilson after hearing these things, and also his performance. You put the two and two together, and it doesn't make for a great situation. Broncos are 1-3. I think if things continue to go south for the Broncos, I think Peyton's going to start throwing more and more on Russell Wilson. Sure. That's just the nature of Sean Payton. But we'll see. Anyway, great discussions today. Thank you so much, Sean McCormick. I'll have you on next week.
Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you to Sean McCormick for joining the show today. A fantastic show it was. For all of our audio listeners, wherever you get your podcasts, Apple Music, Spotify, Amazon Music, Homestand Sports will be there. If you want to watch the video version, you want to see our beautiful faces, head over to the Homestand Sports YouTube. We will post every single podcast we do up on that YouTube channel. Every Monday, new podcasts will be dropping for Homestand Sports, so please stay tuned for that. Subscribe, like, leave a rating. Whatever you do helps the podcast, and we really appreciate that. This has been Homestand Sports. I'm Albert Vartanian.